All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Now, results so far announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission from Saturday's governorship and State House of Assembly elections have seen the ruling All Progressives Congress celebrating big wins across the country and reasserting itself in power, while flipping states previously won by the People's Democratic Party. Although the PDP struggled to come back in many states, especially after the February 25 presidential poll, it re-emerged as the country's main opposition party. In sweeping victories, many APC governors secured re-election across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, with extensive triumphs at the state assemblies. We have Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, with us in the studio to talk some more on this issue and all the reactions that have trailed the governorship elections. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak today.
My pleasure. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Well, a lot really following, or I would say trailing, the governorship and state assembly elections. It looks like we are going to be having a lot of baggages from these governorship and state assembly elections. What do you make of the reactions and the rejections of results?
Nothing. It comes with the season. Have you seen an election that is not disputed? You had the election in 28 states, and so three or four are saying, no, you shouldn't have done that. Now they have assumed the role of INEC. APC is saying in Kano, you should have declared that inconclusive. PDP is saying in Ogun, you should have declared that election inconclusive. The laws are the laws.
So are you saying that the kind of reactions we've seen and the kind of rejections we have seen, there's nothing unusual about it? It's just the usual?
Not that.
Maybe at least in the scale of which we've seen.
Exactly. You know, now, I wrote about this in my column in The Punch today, where I also did a kaleidoscopic analysis of the entire 2023 general elections. And yeah, we are not where we ought to be, but we are not where we used to be. Largely, what I see reflected largely the wishes of the people. I'm not saying that the election was not manipulated in some ways, but I'm choosing to look at this more from a global perspective, more from data. If you speak to data, there are over 1,000 elections held on Saturday. 1,000, now around 93 State House of Assembly and 28 governorship. So if you have contention about 3 or 4, it still doesn't make you not to have done well. I keep making the illustration that an A student in university does not need to score 100%. All they need is 75. That means there is still 25 marks that he or she didn't get right, for which it will still be commended that you've done well. And my characterization of this election, as I said in my column last week, is such that I would say INEC was a brilliant student, expected to score A, but ended up with C. It's still a pass mark. It's not a failure, but it's below expectation. And that position, even if I contextualize what happened on Saturday, and we need to also disaggregate what the roles and functions and the performances of the different key stakeholders. I mean, I've read several, and I quoted three. I quoted three observer groups: the European Union Election Observer Mission, the Young Africa, and the Nigeria Women Trust Fund. I picked excerpts from them, and they all agree that in terms of INEC, there was significant improvement compared to February 25, which is what we were looking forward to. That, you know, INEC had issues with early commencement of vote, early commencement of polls on February 25 in majority of polling units. Election did not start until 2, 3, 5 hours behind schedule. Then the issue of inability to upload on INEC result viewing portal, the issue with the distribution of voters, which led to congestion in some and underpopulation in some. There will always be those issues. I'm not saying, and I've said this, this is the 7th general election we are having. We should have overcome some of these teething problems. But you also need to speak to data. INEC has a staff strength of 16,500, but needed 1.4 million additional staff, ad hoc staff, temporary staff, to help it conduct this work. Now, it is said that out of every 12, there will be a Judas. So you have some of the core members or some of the ad hoc staff who wanted to cash out, who sold out, who did the, who did the chua or mago. But for the majority, that's the one I'm speaking for. I'm not saying that there are no exceptions. To every rule, there will always be an exception. But I don't want to join the narratives of the political class, who are themselves the chief culprit in what has happened over the last 2 strands of election. They were the one. Look, I mean, in Imo, they abducted 19 INEC staff. For doing what? For wanting to do their job. Just 2 days ago in Zamfara, Maradun, the result have been collated. They want to bring it to Gusau for final collation. And the EO and the collation officer were abducted. Will you still say INEC was responsible for that? Or even the invasion of the collation center in Obingwa, in Abia, and the chua that took place in Nusuka and in Kano East, which led INEC to say, look, suspend collation. This is a recurring decimal. In 2019, I recall, INEC had to suspend collation in Rivers. That this time around, they didn't do that in Rivers. And a couple of other places, all because of this. In fact, in Bauchi, I recall that in 2019, INEC had to halt the suspend collation, and we sent a team to investigate what happened in Tafa Balewa local government as a result of invasion of polling collation center. In
all of this process, I've listened to you very keenly, but there's this distrust between the people and INEC. And I'll take you back to Obingwa. The one of Obingwa, it was, yes, suspended because INEC said he wanted to review the situation at that place. And between that day and yesterday, we had protests there. We had the Labour Party candidate addressing press conferences and all of that. So, and then there was this audio, I don't know if you listened to it, where the rec in that place was said to be saying that she would not manipulate the results and all of that. Later in the evening, there was a fact check because after the audio went viral, people said it was INEC that was trying to manipulate the process. But then there was a fact check later in the evening that showed that it wasn't INEC she was referring to. Now, if INEC, why is it taking so long to address the situation in Obingwa, saying that it's just one local government?
It's not one local government, but it's not that easy to arrive at the decision. Recall that the election was held on Saturday. I think the suspension order came on Tuesday, or on Monday. On Monday, yes. So the suspension came Monday evening, because I recall I was in one of the media houses when that happened. So it was only yesterday that the team from INEC will go. And then, of course, by today, you will expect, if they have concluded, they have to travel back, and the commission have to decide on the next line of action. So people need to just hurry slowly. I listened to Alex Oti yesterday when he addressed press conference in one of the hotels here, where he said in 2015 that was similarly what happened. 2015 was an election, everybody was clapping and saying, oh, they did well, oh, peaceful transit. But he said in Obingwa they manufactured 82,000 votes.
So the argument that some of the agents are making is the fact that the results that were brought in is more than the number of registered voters in the local government area. So should it take that long for you to figure out that, oh, this number is not correct? Should it take that long?
Now, let me say this. I'm not working for INEC, and you people always want to make me speak like I'm the public relations officer or the of INEC. I don't know why. But the issue for me is that I've given you and I gave you an example of what happened in Bauchi and Rivers in 2019, where INEC had to send a team, I think 3 or 4 member team, to go and review what the situation is. Now, this decision came on a Sunday. The team will be constituted possibly on Monday. Travel on Monday. Abia is not Mina. It's not Lokoja, where you say in 2.5 hours we'll go and come back. So I believe the INEC team will have gone to listen to the collation officer, listen to the REC and other critical stakeholders. There is no gainsaying the fact that somebody is desperate to have that, and you know that's also what happened in Fufure in Adamawa over the result of that local government, and of course in Kebbi, where Kebbi and Adamawa, where the election has been declared inconclusive. Now, I was given a picture before my sister interjected that INEC relies on third party for the conduct of the election. 1.4 million estimated, it could be more, that were mobilized, recruited, trained to conduct this election. Some of these people have party interest. They are partisan. They are card-carrying member of political party. And when you look at section, I think section 8 or 2 of section 8 sub 2 or thereabout of the electoral, it says that no INEC official should be card-carrying member of a political party.
Jide.
So this, what I'm trying to establish is there are fifth columnists within the commission who can sell out, who wants to cash out, and for this kind of people, the commission needs time to weed them out. If you recall the March 4th meeting the commission had, there was a specific instruction that some people who have been indicted should not be allowed to participate in the March 18 exercise that took place. Yes.
And all of that is rubbing off on the trust issues that we're talking about.
Definitely.
In public confidence on INEC. I recall a particular nomination made by the president, Loretta Onoche. I recall very well how civil society organizations, members of the public, have to rise up and reject that nomination before she was stepped down and all that. So when you see such nominations, what does it say about even some of the commissioners in INEC, and how can we really regain trust? Because it seems like a lot of the things that we see is as a result of lack of trust. And without that trust, even people who win in the election sometimes will have to struggle with the issue of legitimacy and will have to carry the burden of having to always have to assert themselves as duly elected and all that. So what does that do, the issue of trust, what does that do to the commission, and how can we make sure that we find a way of, just dealing with this issue?
I would have loved to listen to your own way forward, because it seems everybody is just pontificating and saying, I'm giving anecdotes, I'm giving data, and speaking to, irrespective of what you do. I've just admitted there are fifth columnists within INEC, and they are human beings like you and I. They need that they have to be weeded out, fished out, and punished. That we have not seen much of, but it has happened in the past, where I recall after 2015 election, INEC actually interdicted over 200 of his staff for, I don't know whether you remember, for various offenses. So it's a woman, but I'm saying let's put the issue that there is confidence, there is trust deficit in INEC because of the activities of minority within that organization. But if we leave INEC, what will you say of security agents who looked up
we are going
when
to
all
come,
of this
we are going to come
violence
to,
was
we are
happening.
going to come to security
Because
agencies.
I choose not to dwell too much when we try to blame the victim. I'm saying here, it would seem to me, from a vantage point of having observed election in the last 24 years in Nigeria, that people have not really appreciated the enormity of conducting election in this country in the kind of environment where there is lack of cooperation of critical stakeholders to help the commission to do a great job. So much as I agree that there are elements, I think the APC candidate in Plateau State was a former resident electoral commissioner in INEC. He lost. He lost to PDP. That's if my memory serves me right, because one of them actually resigned to go and join politics. So there are those those ones that you can point to that, does this look nice on the commission?
Yeah, so we are talking about, and I believe which is the reason why we are having this discussion, right? Strengthening our institutions such that they are beyond individuals to influence. That's the whole aim of this conversation.
Yeah, but
how do we strengthen the institutions? Are there ways to go around this? Are there ways of checks?
There are definitely.
If you know, people are questioning the independence of INEC, even.
It's not.
And I gave an instance where we saw a president nominate a card-carrying member for a role as sensitive as that of INEC.
Was that not resisted?
So
it was resisted by the people, by the civil society, by the media. But beyond and above that, the point I'm trying to make, Ayuba, is that we need to be very dispassionate when we are analyzing issues that has to do with elections. In US has over 250 years of electoral democracy. I'm not too good in mathematics, maybe you are. Do the subtraction, 1776 to date. That's when US have been having elections. But they held the election in 2020 November. That is still being disputed till today. CNN did a survey among Republicans about that November 2020 presidential election, and over 60% of Republicans said that election was stolen, that it was rigged for Joe Biden. That is a country with over 200 years of electoral democracy. Then what happened in Brazil? Brazil had its own presidential election. You saw what happened. Lula won. The Bolsonaro, or what is his name? I'm sorry if I didn't get his name right. His supporters. Huh?
Bolsonaro.
You know, I'm not as good. I'm not as intelligent as him. But you could see his supporters even invading the democratic institutions in Brazil, that they have to call in the military. They invaded the Supreme Court, the Congress. It was. You ask yourself. This morning, as I was driving, I was listening to the report on Senegal. Macky Sall, who came from the opposition to become the president of Senegal, is not thinking third term, wanting to amend the constitution. Is it in us? So what I'm saying is that disputed election is with us, and I'm not sure you have an election, particularly in Africa, that will not be disputed. But what I'm saying is the level of discontent. Let's do, and let's be very dispassionate. Let's speak to data. I don't want to join the narrative, and I'm struggling not to join the narrative of politicians who have vested interest, who, as I said on the media platform yesterday, have spent themselves dry and cannot think of losing because of their heavy investment. Where do you start from, Stella? Somebody bought 100 million naira form, or 50 million in the case of governorship. Then he spent money on the primaries to emerge the candidate. You don't know, X amount. Then he spent another humongous sum, 150 days of campaign. Then he spent another sum paying party agents, because party will not pay. Yeah. It's candidate that will pay. Then now he has to spend another humongous sum, maybe through the court processes. So somebody is running mad. Mentally, he is not contemplating. It's like, so this is the end of the road for me. And we have a system that is called winner takes it all. Winner takes all. Somebody spent maybe 5 billion and the money just went down the drain because there is no middle, there is no safety net. It's either you win or you lose. And that's why you see the ill desperation of the political class. But what the point I'm trying to make again is that I'm saying, yes, there are issues with this election. And I admitted and I've highlighted those problems. But one, INEC improved in this second round of election.
Okay, so let's leave INEC alone now.
But
let's talk about police. Let's talk about security of the process.
No, let me also so that
you hear from her, but I would like for you to comment quickly because of our time. I would like for you to comment on the role of the security now, maybe in 2-3 minutes.
Okay, so for me, security again suboptimal to the extent that we know by law INEC does not have power to make arrest. INEC does not have power to investigate. INEC only has power to prosecute. So you left these INEC officials who are not harmed. You put them in harm's way. I'm asking myself, if there were proper security around the collation centers, it should not be invaded by thugs. Police alone got 64 billion for this election. Police. And I want to be quoted on that because they have not contradicted what I read in the papers. 64 billion. The entire budget of security in 2019 was 53 billion. DSS, civil defense and all of that. But in 2023, police alone got 64 billion. Now, by the time you move to collation center, you are no longer spending. You already, even if it's local government collation center, you will have had a more, you could reinforce, you get. But you have invasion of collation center in Ogoja, you have in Obingwa, you have in Fufure, you have in which other places. Now, should that have happened in a place where security told us they did security threat assessment? We should ordinarily know that those who were about to lose will want to do something desperate. Look at what happened in Beningwari. You follow? Did you follow? Mm-hmm. In Beningwari, thugs invaded the collation center and shredded all the EC884. You possibly didn't hear that. And INEC had to now download results that were already uploaded on IREF and recollated from the polling unit. So I'm asking, where were the security men? When those abductions, we thank God it was the police that rescued the 19 adult staff in Imo. But should they have allowed them to be abducted in the first place?
All right, Mr. Ojo, when I listen to you, beneath all of this are desperate politicians, because if they're able to infiltrate ad hoc staff that maybe can be compromised, politicians, if they're able to influence security operatives not to do their work, same thing. Desperate politicians who want to win at all costs. So how do we begin to tackle this going forward? Maybe, is it the cost of the election? Is it, like you mentioned, if somebody has spent all of this, the person may want to do whatever is possible to occupy this. So is it the cost of the election or the perks of the office? Some persons will say, oh, this office is too lucrative, I must get in. So what is it for us that makes our politicians this desperate?
Thank you, Stella. Again, going back to what I quoted in my column today, I quoted Professor Klodake of blessed memory. He was a political economist with, University of Port Harcourt in his lifetime. He said Nigeria is running democracy without Democrats. You can say is it oxymoron? I'm not too intelligent. That you are running democracy without Democrats. So it's a combination of what you have highlighted, Stella. It's a combination of the fact that we spend so much. In fact, I did a paper which I'm presenting at an event later this morning. And I stumbled on the quotation from Dr. Ebe Gobadia, former INEC chairman between 2000 and 2005. And he said something he said, we prepare for election as if we prepare for war. And what some politicians spend is if you add everything together, can prosecute a successful, campaign, war. Now, it tells you, why will I invest 5 billion to become governor? And that's putting it mildly, because some would, in this election, I can tell you, some will have spent like 10, 20 billion. Now, what is the amount they get as salary? Malame Rufai showed us his pay slip some time ago when he was having altercation with Isidro Gara, or one of the former speakers. And he said he's earning 750,000 per month and all of it. Now, would that kind of money make you to kill, maim, and destroy? No. The answer is, it is this abuse of office makes you to become, if there is anything after billionaire, you can become zillionaire. So you also have the advocacy that civil society have been doing about issue of security vote. In many states, the least states in Nigeria today, there is no state where the governor hands less than 500 million every month as security vote. So that alone, and you don't have to account
for it. Yeah.
So when you have, I'm so sure Sanwo-Olu has his own will always be maybe 1 billion every month. Or, states like Rivers, states like Akwa Ibom, and even Kano. So you can see the way Wike plays with money. He was in Lagos and he said, women of Lagos, I'm giving you 300 million. Because there is a lot to play with. So those are the motivations. The perks of office, the influence peddling, the fact that you can make somebody a billionaire. I can make Ayuba my friend. I said, please resign from Trust TV. Come and work for me. And then I just give him one letter. Those who are lifting oil, those who have oil license, or even telecommunication license, or even, let's even take it to what one of the honorable members, I think from Kano, said about CBN. That CBN governor can make you a billionaire. Exchange rate and all of that. But somebody appointed the CBN governor. You get. So I'm talking at the level of presidents. That kind of influence will make you to kill and maim, because you have the world at your feet. And the system is such that we have an executive president, executive governor. In UK, what did Boris Johnson did wrong? They said he partied during COVID-19. He lied. They didn't say he stole, but he resigned. Liz Truss came.
All right.
They made all manner of places. She resigned. How many people will resign in Nigeria? So the point is, the perks of office, influence peddling, has made our politics so lucrative that anybody, and that's why people will even go and take loans, sell their houses to invest in elections.
We should be focusing on making government or being in public office less attractive, if that could help. But I know that that's a discussion for another day. So let's just leave it there because of our time. Thank you so much, Jide Ojo, for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Please, I need 1 hour for this kind of discussion.
All right. We'll do our best. All right. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching. And this is our show for today. In case you've missed, you can always catch up across all our social media platforms. And also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we stream live all the time. My name is Ayuba Ila. Join us again tomorrow for another time.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Do well to join us same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji, and do have a very pleasant day.